I'm so tired of hearing Call of Duty's back, and I'm not saying that to be negative to T Dog. I absolutely love what T Dog does for the Call of Duty community. He's a big light at the end of the tunnel. So shout out to the man T Dog and his whole YouTube channel. You guys should definitely check that out. But the one thing I don't like about that phrase is that it completely allows the fact of people to accept that Call of Duty fell off and that Call of Duty went somewhere. And I just can't stand that because Call of Duty never went anywhere. I really just don't get it. And I can see that compared to the olden days of where Call of Duty was, peak, or Call of Duty was the game to look at. I still believe that it is the game to look at. Everyone looks at the newly Call of Duty yearly release. I mean, you could just tell by the YouTube views that everyone wants to see it. Everyone looks forward to it. Whether they can say that or not, I promise you people do. But I get where that statement is coming from, but Call of Duty just did not lose its audience. I promise you it did not. It racks in all the money to make another Call of Duty year after year, which we are so spoiled to get, and people don't understand that from a business point of view of what it actually takes to produce one of these games. And then people, damn I say it, are so arrogant in the fact that it should, they swear it should be the most perfect game ever. And I can understand that why, because we've been making Call of Duties for quite some time, so I understand that from that point of view. However, it's just completely spoiled and rotten to talk like that, because making a game to the size that is Call of Duty is very difficult. So kudos to the three studios that do it year after year and have very short development cycles with every moving part within the game. However, not to go on a tangent here, I want to talk about why the audience is just so divided on what a Call of Duty should be and how it is so disconnected from the brand identity that is Call of Duty, rather than really focusing on the three studios and not on Activision or Call of Duty. Again, the one part of the community and this year's game, Black Ops 7, Black Ops 6, Treyarch making both games, honestly, I do think they were both really good, decent games. However, the fact is, the one part of the community really loves these games, and the other two thirds, because there's three studios, so we're gonna break it into thirds. Other two thirds of the communities don't like it at all, right? They don't understand it, they hate it, they just don't like the concepts of what a Treyarch Call of Duty is, and yet they look at that as Call of Duty's fault, as Activision's fault. And to the point, I understand where they're coming from. However, it's ignorant. It doesn't make sense. They're not really understanding that the three different entities make a version of Call of Duty. And while I'm being so rude to these said groups of people, is because they're very top of funnel, right? And I don't believe that they are the core audience of what Call of Duty and who Call of Duty really makes the games for. I don't believe that, but they have the loudest voice, and they happen to be rage baiting, right? They happen to say the dumbest things for clicks, and it becomes this whole issue of where they happen to be, again, the loudest, so a lot of people are listening. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or yeah, this happens or that happens, but it doesn't make sense, right? We don't really look at what Call of Duty is really doing for its core audience enough, rather than trying to appease these people that just honestly don't even play the game enough in a calendar year to have a say. But that's, again, another tangent I don't want to go down to. Let's just focus on what I'm really trying to say here. So again, one part of the community loves Treyarch games, one part of the community loves Modern Warfare games, they love Infinity Ward games, and one part of the community loves Sledgehammer games, right? Those three studios. The one part of the community wants fast movement, arcadey, look and feel of a game, and the other part of the community wants actual gun skill. They want, grounded movement. They want realistic weapons and immersive environments. And another part of the community just want classic three-lane maps. And a lot of the community too, they feel like it becomes repetitive sometimes. So we have all these different opinions, and you have all a lot of negativity, I would say. And that's one thing I really want to say is too. There's a lot of negativity. No one actually talks about what it actually takes to create one, create a Call of Duty, especially you're talking about millions of people playing your game. Nobody actually understands that at scale, right? We always look at the end product of being, well, they should have done this or that, but no one actually gives kudos to the fact that it takes a lot of time and effort to make something on scale, regardless if you have budgets or not, regardless of the fact. However, continuing the video, so one person really thinks that Call of Duty should be like Modern Warfare 2. Another person thinks that Call of Duty should be like Black Ops 2. Another person thinks that Sledgehammer Games makes the best Call of Duties. So we have different opinions, right? We have people that grew up on Modern Warfare 3, Call of Duty Ghosts. And we have people that grew up on Black Ops 7, Black Ops 6. Everyone's experiencing things at all different times right now. Even for myself, right? I grew up on Black Ops 2, right? That was Black Ops 1 was my first Call of Duty. So I grew up on Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 2, and then now I'm here still loving and liking a lot of the games. And everyone has this different idea. But the problem is that this idea that they all have, and everyone is allowed to have their own opinion and their own voice, which that's what makes a community a community. However, the fact is that that negativity that you constantly see online and you constantly, hear people say is all attached to the brand identity. The first couple words in the title, Call of Duty. So people always attach the negativity to Call of Duty, to Activision, when it's really dedicated to the studios that are Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer games. Which again, I totally get that, right? People are only looking at, Call of Duty made this decision. Well, it's actually the devs at Treyarch made that decision. It's actually, the devs at Infinity Ward that make that decision. It's not Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the name, but they are franchised, right? So it's like you eat at one McDonald's. Now McDonald's was great. Oh my God, amazing. And you eat at another one, and it's not the same. But people, again, they're like, oh, what you expect, right? Like, but again, I know that analogy doesn't really pair up because fast food is not what this is. This is a really intense AAA title. But again, the issue is that the community still talks about Call of Duty like it's one continuous thing, which to the point it is, but it's also really not, right? Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games all making different interpretations of what the franchise really is. What they believe a Call of Duty should be. And again, these studios are all competing against one another. And they're all helping each other. They have to play nice with one another, but they're all trying to be like, yeah, but we make it better than you. And the audience, for some reason, I would remember there was a time where they didn't lose that, where everyone was like, oh my God, yes, Infinity Ward is coming out with a Call of Duty. Oh my God, yes, it's Treyarch's turn to make a Call of Duty. I remember that. And at that point, it was like I would say the sentiment about Call of Duty was really still good because there was still that knowledge that, hey, there's 3 different people making this game. Hey, we're excited for it. But as time went on, and I totally understand why, after 2019 Warzone, they were like, yeah, we're going to play the Call of Duty Warzone. And when you had masses of people playing that game at scale, they didn't really understand that. And that's not to their fault. They don't really get that. However, some people that stuck around playing Warzone or playing the new Call of Duties don't really get that. So then they happen to, and again, credit to them to being content creators, having a voice in the community. Again, that's what makes community. But then their voices become very, arrogant and ignorant to where they're not understanding that it was never like this. It was never like that. And Call of Duty, I don't think to their point as well that they knew that this was going to be as successful as they planned it to be. Because obviously when you're competing in a market and you have to come out with a game mode that is competing with, the size and scale of Fortnite at that time, they were like, we have to do something, right? Blackout was made and, they were like, okay, we have to do something. And 2019 happened. It was like, oh my God, everyone loves playing it, right? 2020, COVID happened. Everybody loves playing it. However, the fact that we lost the fact that every game is meant to feel different. Every game is meant to be completely different. And I'm not saying everybody made the right decisions for the game. Again, I'm not saying that because they clearly have not done that and nobody's perfect. But this negativity and this sentiment that every single year the product should stay the same without any real differentiation takes away from what actually Call of Duty really is, right? We always get excited to play the new COD. However, the fact is we lose the fact that, hey, I'm actually excited to play a Treyarch Call of Duty. I'm actually excited to play an Infinity War Call of Duty. Hey, I'm actually excited that Sledgehammer Games is making Call of Duty, which I think they're due after this year, if I'm not mistaken, after MW4. So people are really looking forward to a lot of new ideas that people, new ideas that the devs are making at the studios. However, we just lost that. We lost that knowledge somewhere. And that's why the negativity and of why I don't like the statement, Call of Duty's back. Call of Duty never left. Call of Duty actually never went anywhere. I promise you. I'm not saying they've ever made the best games. They've made bad games. Again, it's really hard to make a game every single year and expect it to be at the very tippy top. That is really hard. Sports teams don't go through cycles of winning, and then without losing. It's really hard, right? But for sports, and people can understand about sports, but for people making games, they're like, well, this has to be like that. It has to be on scale of what 2019 was. No, that's impossible. It's not realistic. And, you have all these expectations, and it's really hard for Activision to tell the studios, hey, you have to deliver on XYZ. and then it creates impossible expectations, and no one just ends up happy, right? You please everyone, you please no one, right? We all know that quote. So during the old era, I can understand why everyone loved the newest game, because your friends bought it, the YouTubers played it, you saw all the casuals play it too as well, right? With the Christmas noobs, and everyone got really excited because they're like, oh yeah, that time of the year, everyone's getting the new Call of Duty, and we all took advantage of the new players that didn't understand the mechanics of the game just yet, from the people that played it from September to October to November, right? And I get that. That makes sense. But now we feel the sentiment that no one really does that, and that's why. And the reason why is because the audience finally got mature enough in the cycle of business where you have your core audience, you have your core people, and it may not be the millions of millions of people playing your game, which is that's okay, guys. It's totally okay. I'm happy that it's not like that. I really am, because the sentiment that you read on like Steam, or you see in the YouTube comments, or you see on the reviews, it that's not real. Like, those are not the real players. I'm gonna be honest with you. People who really love the game and understand the game, they're not talking like that. They don't have their attitude like that, right? And again, some people do age out, right? Just in business, some people do age out in business, and that's okay. So their opinions are just as valid as somebody's new, but we got to go through the noise. And I feel right now in the Call of Duty community, there's a lot of noise, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm trying to take into account everyone's perspective, because again, I grew up on Black Ops 2. I played Modern Warfare 2. I played Black Ops 1, and now I'm still loving Call of Duty in Black Ops 6, 7, and I'm really young. I'm 25. I'm really young for somebody to be a part of this audience members that remembers old games to new games. So once again, right, we have three different groups, three different groups of people having continuous discourse and continuous difference of opinion, and it causes everyone to split. And the studios receive so much pressure between every single feature to make its games different. So Infinity Ward it has simplified maps. Treyarch has sped up movement and really arcadey type of feel. And Sledgehammer Games makes their games how Sledgehammer makes their games. I honestly can't remember a memorable Sledgehammer games, and that's not to discredit them. I just don't really remember anything outside of the World War II game that they made, which was really fun because they had a lot of different features that a lot of other Call of Duties didn't have. But to that point, a lot of people like the studios. They don't like the game itself. They like the studios. But we lost that in translation when all these other people started to play the game. They're like, oh, but Call of Duty is actually like this. The Call of Duty was never meant to be like that. And now everyone's kind of blending in all these studios where the differences are meant to be celebrated. That's what made Call of Duty. Not everything being together and it should be like this one thing. And everyone talks about they should stop yearly releases. They should not stop yearly releases. That is actually one of the best things for the gaming industry. Because if they stop yearly releases, if this title stopped yearly releases, I promise you everything will get stagnant. I promise you. There will be such a lack of innovation. I promise you. There'll be such a lack of competition. Be thankful that Call of Duty releases a game every year. Be thankful. I'm telling you right now, especially with how the market is in gaming right now, with all these layoffs, and they realize that a lot of studios aren't making games that are just not marketable, not even you can't even monetize the game, and by the way, not even playable. Like, no one's gonna play some games, and we saw games die off quick. So be thankful that Call of Duty is making a game every year. Don't fall for that trap of they gotta stop making a game every year. They're ruining it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right. However, the fact I think it's really obvious. But this is rarely practiced as well, that you don't need to enjoy every single Call of Duty title. You really don't. I think a Treyarch fan should skip an Infinity Ward game. I think a Sledgehammer game should skip both of those games. I think the reason why they keep the servers up for the old games is that so you can play them. However, the fact is, by all means, you can voice your opinion, and that's great. I'm not saying that you can't. But an immersion-focused player, somebody that loves like milsim, that loves the realism, loves the movement of a game like that, should not, and for their own sake too, should not be playing a Treyarch game. And demanding Treyarch makes changes like that. They should not be doing that. That doesn't even make sense. Somebody who loves, and again, shout out to Optic, right? Shout out to Shotzi. Somebody who loves to move around the map very quick, jump around corners, do everything within the movement capabilities of that game. They shouldn't be demanding that Infinity Ward should make the movement like XYZ, or should do that. It doesn't make sense. Remember, their differences are meant to be celebrated, not folded in together and blended into this one entity that it's gonna hurt the game, and not everyone really knows what they're really asking for within that, right? And again, this is not to excuse the criticism that Call of Duty is subjected to. Remember, a bad map is still a bad map. Broken spawns, poor visibility, excessive monetization with the battle passes, the frustrating changes to Warzone, just for example, the recent changes with the buy stations. I'm not telling you that they're not subject to criticism by what I'm saying. However, the fact is, criticizing the game itself of Call of Duty, and then not talking about the devs itself, is not okay. A game can still be designed, just not for you, right? I think that's what I'm really trying to get at. A game can be well designed, just not designed for you, because you're just not the target audience, right? A Treyarch game is not making Treyarch games for Infinity Ward players. That's not how that works at all. And so why does it feel like nobody plays Call of Duty no more? Well, it's not because there's not a player count, right? Look at the Black Ops support. People are constantly playing that. Dude, at $40 a pop, I think 8 million people paid for that on the PS5. That is so much money. That is so much money. And it shows that people are playing that. But they're making updates to that port. They're making updates to it. That's how serious that game is. And Call of Duty did not fall off. The players have always been there. However, everyone has their own different interpretation of what a Call of Duty is. Therefore, that gets projected. And it gets projected to everyone, because everyone has social media. So everything goes viral, so it gets projected to even the casuals and people who normally don't buy a Call of Duty every year, and then they always look at it. It was like, oh, should I get it this year? Oh, should I not get it? Right? So all that opinion gets projected out, and then everybody all at once has different, opinions. It gets represented as one, and then the result is a franchise with a massive audience that feels completely empty. It feels divided. It feels unhappy. Everyone is just waiting for the next Call of Duty, even though this one just got released, and everybody treats as if the franchise is dying. And to my point, and this won't be fixed by creating one game. Like I said before, this is not going to be fixed by continuously updating one game. We have Warzone to exemplify that. If they did that with multiplayer, we have COD Mobile to show you that. The data's there. They know that. They test that in smaller markets to see if it's going to work in the big market. Remember, we're talking about a big business entity that is Activision. These people are not dumb, whether you think that or not, because they're not making the changes that you want in the game. They're not dumb. I think you're dumb for saying all that you say online, all this negativity, and you expect that, oh yeah, they're going to do that. Like, no, that's dumb. They know that it doesn't work. So it's not going to work by making one entity. And there's no real way to fix this other than the knowledge gap of reintroducing the studios. And that's one thing Activision has been very poor at, which we're starting to see the change with Infinity Ward. If you notice very closely, the marketing for the game has been Infinity Ward centric, talking about the game, the studio devs. If you've paid attention to some marketing, the devs are constantly everywhere talking about the game. So Activision knows that they have to change the sentiment about their game. I'm telling you. Or at least they're trying to. Or they're trying to start. And they did that a little bit with Black Ops 6. Remember, Black Ops 7, the devs coming out and all these different things. However, this one with the Fanatics Fest, and then also having a lot of famous people. They had the girl from Obsession and Kevin Durant talk about the game. That's really good. Because again, we're getting out there again. And I would say Black Ops, and Treyarch had really good marketing for Black Ops 6, but the game just didn't live up to what Black Ops 7 was like, gameplay wise. So that's why it kind of fell off. It felt stagnant within the marketing. However, the fact is, they're really starting to make a difference to where, okay, we need to start to differentiate these people as far as the studios. And always remember, guys, not every COD needs to be your COD. Remember that. I saw somebody talk about on Twitter saying, hey, if they ported all the Call of Duties from 2007 to 2013, I think, they would never buy a new game. And brother, I want you to know, brother, those games are still playable. You don't got to play another game. Don't buy another Call of Duty, brother. Hey, go play. Hey, happily stay over there. Please do not. Please don't play the next one. I'm begging you. As somebody who actually loves business and loves the game, that is, and loves the entity, like, please don't even bother. Please don't even bother. We actually don't even want to hear what your opinion is about this new game. Just go stay over there, bro. Please go find some lobbies. Go enjoy that. Go kick it. Go do that, because I promise you, not every COD needs to be your Call of Duty, and you're part of the problem. I guarantee you. Just that sentiment alone, you're part of the problem. Saying that you'll never buy another game, bro, you're just not a real fan. Like, you're just milking your nostalgia. You're just milking it. You're just farming the nostalgia. You're nostalgia farming. You're not even a real fan, bro. It's okay. Just go over there, bro. It's cool. I promise you. I promise you, it's not the fact that it's a different game every year. I promise you. The problem is that the community is just refusing to accept their differences and studios for who they are as separate entities, and and they're constantly projecting onto the name that is Call of Duty and not reflecting that, hey, it's just different people making different games. It's a franchise at the end of the day. It is what it is. One of the very few companies to do it at scale within the gaming market. Okay, that's enough yapping. But that's all I got for you today. I really guys hope you understand the video as a whole. I enjoy talking about these topics. It really does mean a lot to me. I really understand. I try to understand as many perspectives as I can within the gaming industry, especially within the Call of Duty world. But always remember, stay true, stay you, and stay frosty. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.